Greetings and welcome. Tracy?
All right. Hello and welcome everyone to What Needs to Be Done Today, also known as WNTBD Today Network. This podcast is sponsored by the MAAT American Aborigine Tribal Nation. We just want to welcome in and give honor, thanks, and love to our ancestors, in particular, Noble Theodore Scott Mitchell Bay, who is no longer with us in body, but always with us in spirit. It is because of his support and vision of the matriarch leading while being supported and protected by the patriarch that we are here today. Noble asked each of us a very important question for our lives. What have you done? What have you done? What have you done? So please join me in meeting our wonderful, amazing, fabulous podcast team. We'll start with Carmela Mitchell Bay, wife of Noble Theodore Scott Mitchell Bay.
Thank you, Tracy. I just had my wonderful picture of Scott displayed on the screen. So he is here watching us. I'll put this down lower so you can see it. He would just be so very proud of what the women are doing because he always wanted to uplift us.
Okay. Next, we have Anita Wells.
Greetings, everyone. It is a pleasure to join with everyone who is, who wants to know more about our matriarchal beliefs and our healing of Mother Earth and our contributions and how you can contribute. So I am beyond pleased to be here and to be a part of this historical moment. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Melo and Rojo El Bay, Chief of the MAAT Tribal Nation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. And I'm just so grateful and thankful to our podcast team.
And we have Shatika Killebrew Bay, our podcast team coordinator, and who is also our wonderful guest speaker for today on The Matriarch Speaks. Shatika Killebrew Bay.
Peace and love, everyone. And I'm so grateful to be here amongst women who are taking an initiative to make sure that women's voice are being heard and that we are together uplifting and supporting each other.
Ashe. Now, after our speaker, we will have an open discussion. You can type questions or comments in the YouTube chat, the chat here on the Zoom. You can also raise your hand via Zoom. If you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 to raise it, *9 to lower it. And we also ask that you please mute your computer. You can press *6 on your phone to mute while the speaker is speaking. And with that, all right, Shatika Killebrew Bay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tracy. We appreciate you for that beautiful introduction. So first and foremost, again, I am Shatika Killebrew Bay. I'm grateful for the guidance, the tribulations, everything that I've been through that has led me to this point. And I'm definitely grateful for the universe to have led me to so many great and beautiful people who have already taken so much initiative and moving in the direction of uplifting the fallen humanity. The topic of today's podcast would be the role of the matriarch. And in that topic, I will speak on, as I've stated, the different roles that a matriarch is supposed to uplift or resemble. And so and also the importance of a matriarch, because within this day and time and generation, we don't have as many individuals who are impactful as a matriarch. We have mothers being women that have birthed children, but they do not exemplify the characters that give their children the greatest capacity to fulfill their greatest potential. The purpose of a matriarch. The purpose of a matriarch is to nurture, guide, and support her children, and also her consort, her significant other or spouse, whichever word you may use. But she's pivotal in that aspect for both her children and her consort. it is her duty and her job to nurture, first and foremost, the emotional standpoint of those individuals, her children and her spouse. It is her duty to ensure that they are heard, that they are able to be expressed and also seen, because we know that if a child is not seen, and even in relationships, if your spouse is not seen, they begin to act out for attention. They begin to do things that curate negative behaviors, and which could be nullified if there were true women standing up with the characters that are necessary to be a mother. Not only does the matriarch has to listen, but she also has to support. She has to support them as they navigate the roads of life for themselves. She has to guide them on what is a rational thought process and how to determine what is and what should not be done, what is and what is not beneficiary for them in their lives. A matriarch also um, I said that she supports, but yeah, it's the child's position to navigate for themselves. And again, the mother is supposed to support them in their process and ensuring that they have the sound reasoning to make the most rational decision. In today's society, we we have seen those aspects of matriarchhood dwindle, and it's very alarming because, as we can see, we have the children who are misguided, we have the unhealthy and toxic relationships, and when we are able to come together as individuals and set a standard that we know produces the appropriate uh, results, then we're able to build something greater for today's society. I mean, the truth has always been stated that children are the future, and it is through the mother that children are conditioned. It is through the mother that children are taught. It is through the mother that children are loved. And when that is present and that is the operation of a mother, then you're able to give our future a greater chance and a better hope. Um, Mothers or matriarchs, definitely matriarchs, because there is a difference between a mother and a matriarch. But matriarchs are vitally important in so many different aspects, but ultimately they are vitally important in the shaping of the future, because most children um, ultimately are genuinely raised majority by mothers. And even if a father is present, the child spends predominantly more of his time with the mother. And so all the characters in which we see today, all the things that we see operating in the world today, they are either condoned or chastised by the mother. And if the mother is not present in that aspect, we continue to see the results in which we see today, which is terrible, but it is not the end. I think through situations like this, it brings us into the awareness of where we are feeling. And it is through our trials and our tribulations that we learn so that we can rectify behaviors to ultimately get the best result. Um, Matriarchs have to maintain a healthy balance of selfishness, and then also selflessness. Um, because if a mother, it's already understood through a lot of different studies that the well-being of children and a household is based upon the mother's emotional and mental stability. And we all, as women or matriarchs, and also men have experienced as fathers, that in raising children, your life is over. It is ultimately your focus should be the child, because they need you for every essence of their life. And if you don't show up, then they are lacking. But there has to be a healthy balance of knowing, hey, I have to set aside time for myself. Choosing yourself is not a negative thing, but it is a negative thing when you choose yourself at the um I would say at the chance of hindering or hurting your child. And so again, like I said, there needs to be a healthy balance. I think it's vitally important that women nurture themselves first, because when we are nurtured correctly, when we focus on ourselves the way that we should, we are able to give our children exactly what they need. The saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup, and that's the reality of it. And so it's vitally important that we take care of ourselves, we nurture ourselves, we provide for ourselves in the way that is necessary. Um, it's not a whole lot I can pretty much say. Those three things, the nurturing, the guiding, and the supporting of the matriarch, is very important. It's vitally important. And those three aspects alone creates the difference for a child and relationships to flourish. And so my final thing that I would say in regards to that I definitely want to reiterate is the healthiness of a support system, because we don't know everything by ourselves. There is no universal book of parenting, but it is through our forefathers, through our ancestors, through those who have come before us that share the information that they have learned through the transgressions of life, that we are able to have a little bit of preparedness to step into motherhood or matriarchhood. And so the purpose of this podcast is to create that environment again, to bridge the gap, to allow our ancestors, our elders, those that have come before us and paved the way, the opportunity to give us wisdom and guidance. I have only been walking in this path of motherhood for about 17 years, and I still feel like I'm stunted in the knowledge that I could have had if someone had passed it down to me prior. And it's shown throughout history that women were groomed to be mothers. So we have to get back to that. We have to get back to the giving our children the things that they need in order to succeed. And it starts with the mother. And so that's the biggest thing I'll drive throughout this entire podcast series is it starts with the mother. The child comes from the mother, the child eats from the mother, the child is conditioned from the mother. And if we do not clean up our behaviors, if we do not rectify how we are operating, how can we expect our children to do anything more? And so I'm looking forward to this opportunity to share with other women who have walked this path of motherhood and matriarchhood that could share wisdoms and guidance and even remedies, tools, and also just be there to listen so that we can know that we are not alone, that this is not something that we have to do by ourselves. And together we can raise up our nation. And that would be my conclusion. I appreciate you all for listening to me. And I guess now we're going to open the floor for the open forum so that everyone can have the opportunity to share in their perspectives on what is a necessity of a matriarch and what are the roles of a matriarch.
Thank you so much, Shatika, for that powerful message. We love you. We're so grateful for you. Yes, absolutely. So now the floor is open for discussion. If anyone has questions, comments, anything you would like to share, the floor is yours. All we ask is that you please be respectful and keep your comments, if you can, to within 3 minutes or so. And if you are on the phone, again, you can hit *6 to unmute. And again, the floor is open if anyone has anything they'd love to share.
Well, today it's Carmela Mitchell Bay. Today I just happened upon a couple of definitions that really touched my heart. The first one was resilience. And when I think of the matriarch, us, everyone who's here, we have that resiliency in our souls. And what we have to do for people who are coming after us is to let them know that you have it too. It has been passed on from generation to generation to generation. But also trauma to our people has been passed on from generation to generations. But I want to focus on the resilience. Definition says the ability to efficiently recover from stress and come back into alignment. And I think that had a lot to do with what Sister Satika was speaking about, that there has to be this healthy balance for us. If we don't have that balance, then we're going to feel as if we're drowning. If we don't have, I think, our support that we have right here, if we didn't have these 6 beautiful women on the screen with us, just supporting and loving and caring for one another, that's important. Now, we're not elephants, but I am going to think of the elephant family. They know exactly how to get along. There's the matriarch who's the mom, and then there are all these aunties. So none of those little, I don't know what you call an elephant cub, but they always have someone that they can depend on. Maybe not Tracy and Shatika, but I bet Chief Malo and Anita and I remember the times that our neighborhood, that was our family. They helped to raise us. They helped. I remember seeing people on the porch snapping beans or peas or whatever they did, telling stories, making sure that we were in our own areas by the time those street lights came on. So there were a lot of matriarchs in our community that we had a chance to see. And I'm not sure that Tracy and Shatika are seeing the same things that we did. But my word for the day is resilience. We always come back. Remember that. Don't be scared by what's happening in our world. Noble Scott always said it's smoke and mirrors to get us away from the task that we need to be doing. So don't think about this world, because I think they're up to something that we don't know about. But don't dwell on that. It's just to get us away from what our job should be.
Yes.
Ashe.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes. This is Miss Anita. I want to follow up on that. It just brought back wonderful memories of, and I didn't know it was a privilege at the time, but growing up with my grandmothers, both of my grandmothers in the community, growing up with my mother being home when we came from school, and remembering that my one grandmother, my dad's mother, Miss Annie, we called her Granny. But I remember one time when there was an incident at the school, we lived in Pennsylvania, and it was a colored school that we went to, but the teachers were all white. And at one time, we had a principal named Miss Redmond, and she actually paddled my brother. You know, they used to paddle you back then.
Yes,
And
sir.
my brother ran to my grandmother, who lived down the hill, and told her. And my grandmother, who seldom got up from her rocking chair, got up from that rocking chair and went up to that school and told Mrs. Redmond, "Don't you ever put your hands on there, none of mine again, or you gonna see me, you gonna be sorry." And she went back down that hill. And Miss Redmond never put her hands on none of my grandmother's children after that. And I thought, wow, because my grandmother, I mean, she was she was from South Carolina. They came from slaves that were whipped, and she was determined that this white woman was not going to put her hands on none of her children or grandchildren. And that was, that was strength that I saw from my grandmother. And as far as, like when my grandfather passed, he was older than her. And when he passed, the children, my father and all their brothers and sisters, kept her in the house, took care of her, made sure she was comfortable until she passed. My mother was, she stayed at home. But when I was about 12, her and my dad separated. And I remember her being real sad and depressed for a minute. And then she got up, went and got her a job, went and got her training and became a nurse. And she took care of her business. That's my mother. My grandmother, I remember, she had to go through a separation with my grandfather, and she took care of her business. None of those women that I respect and admire drank, smoked, cursed, did drugs, none of that. they were just like such, models of strength and resilience, no matter what they were faced with. And everything that I learned, that I know, and I carry myself as these days, someone who is a non-smoker, a non-drinker, don't do drugs, you know, is because of what I got from my mother and my grandma, my grandparents, because even my grandfather didn't drink or smoke or curse. They were all in the church, back then folks was mostly in the church. And I remember, and what I remember also is gardens. And we as little kids could run around and go in gardens and pick a tomato and just eat that tomato right off the vine. And those were the best tomatoes. And we were free. We could go anywhere in our community, but we were not to leave. We knew where the boundaries were. We knew where we could play, where we could be, and not to leave those boundaries. And I thought the entire world was like that until we had to, grow up and leave that world and realize that there, like I lived through the Vietnam War. We were faced with the Vietnam War where all the eligible men that would have married us, the eligible brothers that would have went to college, that would have got a skill, that would have been part of our families, were killed. They were either killed or they came back with PTSD or they came back crippled. That is where the fathers went. That's what left the mothers having to raise children without a father. And that situation continues to this day. And then the system, because I'm a historian, okay, the system comes up with all these ways to continue to separate the families, to continue to keep the man out of the house, the Black man out of the house, continues to set up a system where you can't get a job, so you have to beg for welfare to feed your children, where you don't get any benefits, even if you were in the military. You get, if you're crippled and you're mentally, PTSD, you don't know how to go, you don't have it to go and file for benefits or anything like that. They're living on the streets. They're in prisons. This is our fathers. This is, the children that we are seeing in our community are a direct result of what is happening, to break up our families, to keep us destabilized, and, we, as a matriarch, I take that the responsibility of being some kind of role model for the children, speaking quietly to them, speaking to them with respect, speaking about their mothers with respect, regardless of what their mothers did or are doing. At some point, the child needs someone to say, oh, that's the person that brought me in the world, even if they're not perfect, and none of us are. I've lived through them, filling up our communities with drugs and seeing women who I had respected going through drug addictions. And my spirit and soul tells me not to judge them, because that's a sickness and that's something that's in our community. And if it's not a sickness, then we wouldn't see people get in recovery. We see a lot of people in recovery. So, so I take my role as a matriarch seriously. I'm a historian. I went all the way back and found my native ancestor in 1640 in Virginia, she's a mother, and they had taken her children. They were taking the children, and what they did was they told them, oh, because you're native, your children are going to be what they call apprenticed out, or they're going to be, indentured servants. But what they did was they took her children and they enslaved them. they redesignated them and said they were Africans. And she was going around, this Native woman, looking for her children and saying, they have taken my children. And I want, I'm trying to find my children. And she never stopped looking for her children. That's whose shoulders I stand on. That's, as a matriarch, and how, it's so important spiritually, how we present ourselves to the next generation that are coming up and being respectful. And then you get respect back. And, that's my message. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sister Anita.
Ashe.
And Sister Anita is going to have her podcast coming soon. So she's going to definitely have, you see, she's a wealth of amazing knowledge. Sister Shatika, Sister Carmela, all of them are going to have theirs coming soon. So great, a lot to look forward to. Thank you so much for that, Sister Anita. And I see that we have Chief Malo. Her hand is up. Chief Malo, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I'm loving what I'm hearing. As far as what the matriarch, and we also know that even though there are some who are not a mother per se right now, they're still considered, in my eyes, they're still considered a matriarch, because we want to expand that matriarch to include, as far as, because like you've all, both Shatika and Sister Anita hit on, we are the leaders. Okay, we are the ones who hold the community together. That's part of our responsibility. That has been happened in the past. If it wasn't for Mama, okay, being there a lot of times, okay, Daddy, sometimes he was there, like Sister Anita mentioned, and sometimes not. A lot of times, and and it was by design that was the case. However, as far as like with the matriarch, we want to bring all of our children back into the fold. And that's what we're reaching out to. And we're trying to reach out to the younger, as far as what my goal is also is to reach out to the much younger, and the little girls that are out there, that are coming up. And yes, they look to us as role models. And we can be there, we can be that to a certain extent, but we have to always remember that we're just human. We're just human beings with faults, and we all have different aberrations. Those are, maybe sometimes people smoke, sometimes they may take a drink, but some of those things I usually haven't done those things in my life, so I can't really. I've been around people. I've grown up with brothers and sisters, okay, that have been users. I've been around. My ex-husband was a drug addict, alcoholic. So I've been around different people, and I've actually had to try to help some of those with the things that are going on. But I think Sister Anita may have touched on that also. It's because of the system that we've been subjected to, a lot of things that they've gone through. So there's a lot of healing that we need to do to get to the wellness for that, so we can get to that point. But like I said, we just have to remember and be patient with all of our people. And there's a scripture that says, with regard to our children, you train up a child in the way he should or she should go. Okay, and when they were older, they will not depart from it. So a lot of times the parents, okay, fathers included, but we're talking about matriarch, they get blamed for a lot of things that their children do, things that they go through. And yes, we do have a responsibility and what have you, but without revealing too much at this point, I have in my family, I've tried so much. I have, on one end, and I just have to say, I have a son who is in the same household, same mother, same father, me, my ex-husband, as my daughter. My son, I haven't heard from. He's in the military, and he doesn't call me, write me, or anything. It's been 13 years, and there's something, and it hurt very, very much, a lot of things. And he said a lot of derogatory things, but my daughter has always been there. She's right there, she supports. So I'm grateful for that. And I had to realize is that it's something in him. It's not, it took me a while to realize I kept blaming myself for a lot of things. And I looked to see what responsibility I had. And I did see that, as a mother coming up, I made some mistakes. I made here's mistake number 402. Okay. So I made mistakes. But the thing is, you can't go back and correct the past. When you're a young mother and you're coming up, there's no real quote unquote manual to go by, but there are, you do have, like Sister Nita mentioned, I think Sister Shatika mentioned, Sister Carla Mella, I think she touched on it. You do have the others who are there. You have aunts, you have grandmother, you have great grandmother who are there. But sometimes they have aberrations too. they have issues and they have things. So it's kind of like a down the line, and there's a healing that has to take place. And one of the things that we talked about before was the communication that has to go forth. I have a sister who feels that just I don't want to talk to you. I try to find out what it is, what I may have done or said, and just no communication. And I think that the social media has something to do with that too, okay? But only a small part, because each individual has their own responsibility in that. You must, even if it hurts, even if it's just so painful, you must talk about it. You must get it out. You must, I'd rather for people to scream at me, call me out. I don't really like that, but if they have to, call me if you have to cuss me out. Tell me all these things. Well, get it out, because I can take it, and I have taken it. So I can take it. Just say what you need to say. Get it out. Okay. My daughter, she'll go. She won't use those words and stuff, but she'll tell me, and she'll be upset with me. Say things, and sometimes there are things you really don't mean. And just give her time. She's got it out. She'll come back. And she's all kissy and loving and apologizing. And that's family. So I really want us to understand is that as far as we're matriarchs, and we're all family. And the mother is I want you to look at she's a leader. The father is also a leader, but the father is a protector. He's supposed to love and nurture her so that she can love and nurture her children. Okay. I didn't have that with my spouse. Okay. But that doesn't say that that's not the same in all relationships. I just didn't have that. So I had a lot that I would had to go through in healing and what have you. But we want the next generation. I think that was Sister Nita, Sister Shatika mentioned. We want them to be better. We want things to be a lot different than what we have of experiencing this. We want the healing to be there. So, and I don't want to spend too much time because I don't want to monopolize. I want to give, but that's just something I want to interject about the leadership of the matriarch. We have two callers who are on the phone, and maybe they wanted to. I'll defer back to Tracy. Maybe they might have some comments or even questions.
Thank you so much for that, Chief. Very true, all true. So powerful. Thank you. And yes, I do see two of our tribal members on the line. I see two other names three other names I'm not familiar with, but welcome everyone. And if there is anyone there that has any questions, comments, anything you'd like to share, you can definitely please unmute, and the floor is yours. And thank you to our tribal members, Sister Janaya and Juliana, for joining us also. And the floor is open.
And don't forget to unmute is *6, as well as muting yourself back is *6, right?
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
On the phone, calling.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Greetings.
Well, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
How's everybody? I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful.
I am Anita Will's cousin, and I just love to hear my cousin speak whenever I can. And she is telling you the truth about where we grew up. She's a little older than me, and she used to kind of be my protector, but it was just like she said. like her father's mother. I lived down the hill and I had to walk past her father's mother's house if I had gone to the store. And if Grandmother Baxter saw me stop just to pick up stones or pick a flower, she'd tell me, "You get on home. You get on down there and get on home." So we did have an awesome community with awesome aunts, awesome great aunts, mothers, and even some of their friends. You know what I mean? And we basically didn't have to worry about anything because we knew somebody's watching out for everybody. We had something called, Anita, you can help me, the phone where people had the same number or something. A party line.
Oh, yeah, the party lodge.
I remember the party.
Yeah, yeah. And if you didn't do what one of the matriarchs would tell you, like Grandmother Baxter, get down there, you get on home, and you be careful crossing the street. They'd get on the party line, and my mom and dad might get a word that I was dilly-dallying before I got home. And the first thing they'd say, "Why did Miss Baxter have to tell you to do such and such?" And sometimes you would have to get a little scolding going on when you got back home, you know? But everything Anita said, that's exactly what we had. And it was beautiful. Her mother and her mother's sister was my grandmother. But her mother and my mother acted like they were sisters. And I used to think they were all sisters, but our great-grandmother on our mother's side had children that were old enough to be born and old as some of their aunts. Like my mother was an older cousin, you know? And we just had a good time being with each other all the time. But that's all I have to say. I just enjoy hearing Nita talk, and now I'm having the privilege of hearing someone else.
Well, sister,
You know?
sister, what is your name?
Tamara.
Tamara.
Yes, Tamara.
Tamara with a T or C?
Maya.
T.
With
A T as in Thomas.
That's one of my daughter-in-laws, my ex-daughter-in-law's name, Tamara. Okay.
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you so much, sister.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you
that.
so much.
Yes, thank you.
You're
Thank you, Tamara.
welcome.
And the floor is open. Is there anyone else that would like anything they'd like to share?
I'm sitting here.
Wow.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings. We're here.
Janaya?
Janaya.
Yes.
Greetings, Sister Janaya.
I want to share a lot, but I don't want to do it on this call because
But we don't have time for you to share.
I know.
You got two
know.
minutes.
I got 2 minutes.
You know we love you. We got 2 minutes.
Well, basically, I want to share what I'm going to say recognized recently. I want to premonition. Between people, you know, the disagreements and all that kind of stuff. The premonition was that the system is out of balance. And in order to get it in balance, the people have to be in balance.
Yeah.
And so on the call, I'm going to speak about that as far as balance and how we can balance ourselves in order to balance the system. Because if, like I said, most people think they are balanced, but that is part of where when people don't really know who they are. They don't know their spiritual abilities, that we all have innate spiritual abilities, and we have forgotten our way, and we don't know how to use them. So therefore, the system's unbalanced because like everything negative and positive, there's a positive and there's a negative. And so if you got more negative, that throws the whole system off. So the people, as they wake up and they become more balanced, which would be the positive, then the system will begin to balance. So like I said, I'm going to be talking about that. Me and Juliana, I'm not pronouncing her, but I still have to work on that. on her,
Juliana.
on
Perhaps
her.
you can be a guest on the Matriarch Speaks later
Pardon
on.
me?
You can be a guest speaker later. And you can 10
Yeah, we
minutes.
could be a speaker later, but the both of us would be talking about that. She would talk about some things that she works with to help keep herself balanced.
Yeah.
So other than that,
Mhm.
I guess that's all I want to share right now. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for
Thank
being here.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you for
Thank you, Sister
being here. Thank you
Janaya.
for that, Janaya.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I would wanted to just reiterate, and I think it's so vital to reiterate this part because it's one of the things that we're realizing has aided in a lot of the stagnation. Sister Nita, when she first started speaking, she spoke on how her grandmother went to the school and reprimanded another ethnicity for whooping her child, especially being after they're already in those post era of slavery and whipping. And how we have been utilizing that as discipline for raising our children for the last 4 to 5 generations. And as a mother who has 2 young men who are naturally rambunctious and wild at spirit, um, my first recourse to discipline was never whooping. And it was difficult for me as a woman to whoop my children. The love, the heart of joy and kindness, just I could not do it. It tore me up on the inside. And so I would probably let my children get away with a whole lot, more so just a chastising, a stern of the hand and chastising with the mouth, but that was it. And I noticed that a little bit of their character would be, um, out of whack because of that. And so for me, through my retrospect and looking back at it, I've realized the vital importance of the balance of father and mother. Though we're speaking about the matriarch now, I think it's vitally important to understand that it is our job as mothers to train the children, but ultimately within the first 5 years, if you're focused on giving your children the consistency of yes and no, after those first 5 years, you don't have to do a lot of discipline. Their character is pretty much set. They might run into a few odds and ends, and it's reiterating what Melo said about training the child up in the way that it should go. And that's something that I think is so pivotal in shifting the dynamic for the future because that's also a part of healing. Sister Anita, and I think Sister Carmela, no, I think Sister Carmela definitely mentioned it. The passing of the trauma. And it's even those circumstances where it's been neglect or abuse from your mother, and then now you have children, and now you thought that that character was okay, and even if you didn't think it was okay, just that hurt people syndrome, you began to repeat that with your child, and now you're continuing that generational cycle, and that's the objective that we're trying to break. That's the objective is to break that generational cycle. And it starts first with understanding that we have to give our children that consistency in the first 5 years. And also that as a woman, it's not really our job to be so stern and the whooping all the time. We give it to them in the first 5 years and we don't have to. But then that's why it's vitally important because men, that's them. They like, you said he did what? Hold up. And they ready. And it's like, we have to know our role so that things can come together appropriately. And that's one of the things I think is so important. Yes, as women, if we can uplift each other and support each other while the men are gathering themselves and getting themselves together, it's pivotal. But we need the men to step in that aspect so that it relieves us because it's to me that contradictory outlook. When we were children, our parents would say when the father was absent, they would say, I'm your mama and your daddy. And so where is your consolement? When the person that whooped you, you can't go to him for consolement or even just some hindsight so that you can ration on how to appropriately change the behavior that caused the discipline. It's chaotic for, to me, the true clarity of discipline, and then also nurturing from the mother. So I think that is something I just want to reiterate. We're coming out of that abuse. We're coming out of that thinking whooping is the only way to raise children and to monumentally impact their consciousness. So that's something that I think if people more were giving the tool more of knowing, that we would have better structured children when we walk out into the world. So that's one of those being selfless things where the first 5 years don't work, and that's why it's important not to just randomly have children, but the first 5 years don't work. Focus on molding them, because ultimately we're in a society right now that when you have a child and you send them to school, you probably only spend ultimately 2 to 3 active hours with them a day, and somebody else is pouring into them characters. Other children are showing them habits and characters that they're picking up on, and they have less time with you to become that byproduct of you. So technically, as they say, it's the system raising our children, and we got to come out of that part. So I just wanted to reiterate that the first 5 years being monumentally pivotal for a child's growth, and how if we give them that consistency, regular discipline, your yay being yay and your nay being nay, it defines within them a construct of consciousness where they understand boundaries, and you don't have to be all overwhelmed with the teenager ages and the growth spurt and the smelling of themselves and things of that nature. But also we need our men, we need that support on that standpoint. And that'll be all.
Shay,
And
thank you so
I
much.
wanted to comment a lot on what you said, but our time, we want to be respectful. We told everyone 45 minutes, and we will be back again next week. So we will continue on with this, and this is wonderful. And I thank you so much, Sister Shatika, for this topic.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so much
much.
for Sister Anita, Sister Carmela, Sister Janaya. I think Sister Juliana is on the line.
Yes,
Yes.
And we have Sister Tamara or Tamara.
Tamara.
Tamara, yeah, my next daughter-in-law, she pronounces Tamara. So it's Tamara. And I noticed that we have a few other guests, and I would want it really to give them time, except we're pretty much out of time, but I want you to be able to join us again next week. We will be here the same time, the same bat station, the same meeting ID, the same passcode at the same time. And we look forward to all of you join us again next week. And I'm just going to put this on the screen here. I'm going to share something with you. And I hope everyone can see that, that we are sponsored by the MAAT, American Aboriginal Tribal Nation. Those of you who want to donate, you can do that. The Cash App, we accept all donations. That would greatly help to keep us on air and to keep doing what we're doing, and for the many projects that we have planned. There's some of our websites for some of the things that we're working on. And so I just so abundantly grateful and just so thankful to all of us, to the wonderful and lovely matriarchs, who are assisted and protected by the wonderful patriarchs. Those we want everyone with us who has the same mind, the same spirit, the same goal, the same focus, and because we want to gather all of us together, because we're strong together. We don't want to be divided. Even like we said, when you disagree, you can agree to disagree and say, okay, I may not see their viewpoint right now, but later on down the line, you meditate on it, you just might. Okay, you might just, and then they may actually see your viewpoint. Okay, so this is a growth, this is a growing for all of us when we're going through all of this. And so I'm just so thankful. I'm just going to let our speaker dismiss us.
Yes.
Okay.
Sister Shatika.
I'm so goofy, you guys. Immediately when she said speaker, it went over my head.
That's
Ooh.
you.
Yeah, that's so goofy. But Lord, thank you. Abundantly grateful, abundantly grateful, abundantly grateful, abundantly grateful. Ultimately, we just want to give thanks and praise to the Most High, to our ancestors for the energy that they've imbued in us to allow us to gather here together with the crying out for a change, for the opportunity for our voices to be heard. We are so grateful. We are so grateful. And we're
Yes.
grateful for the people that came to join us. We know that there are others on the same agenda, on the same drive. They have the same desire, and that the universe will allow them to gravitate to us. We're grateful for the opportunity to be present and give this back to our community and be a gift to everyone rather than looking and desiring something when we understand that we must be in balance with giving and taking instead of just always wanting. And we ask that we be led to show up in every need that is needed for our people and every wound that is there, that we are able to give the spiritual healing that is needed in order for us to progress forward for our children and our children's children. And I just know that today is pivotal in so many ways for the ripple effect of change in different demographics and different homes and different
Yes.
areas and different mind frames and different perspectives. I know that today is monumental. And today, for all of those things, we give thanks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I hope that you all enjoyed the topic and that you're inspired to come and join us every week, Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Amen.
much.
Peace and
And
love,
Ashe.
everyone.
Okay.
you can catch
Ashe.
it on the MAAT University MU YouTube channel. If someone missed the live or you want to go back to it, you can watch it on the YouTube channel, MAAT University, parentheses, MU.
Yes.
We will have every show. All right. And we're going to have a lot of amazing topics to